go, and we're on again. This is Desisant, famed e-boy, and George Shooter Nolan on the thing. How you doing, George?
Yeah, I'm doing all right.
Yeah, well, that's good. I'm also pretty good, though. I have had surgery recently, so I may have more pep, less pep, or uh, less pep. I will definitely have less pep.
All right. You know what? You said you had surgery, and it doesn't. It looks. I can't tell.
It
That's like
was.
the mark of a really good surgeon.
I'm sure he did a fantastic job. What it was a quality of life thing. I had obstructive breathing forever, so it was
A
a
nose job. Yeah, the nose job. Yes.
no. Well, you'd be able to tell if it was a nose job. It was an inner nose job. It was called adenoid reduction surgery. No, not adenoid. Adenoids gone. It was let me time it. We're not timed it. Turbinate reduction surgery, so I could breathe through my nose.
Okay. You noticed the difference?
I noticed that I am still uh, sort of weak from the event, and my uh, head is filled with blood. I mean, it's normally filled with blood, I believe, but it is my breathing is currently impacted more than usual. But the understanding is that it will become less so,
Oh, yeah, as it heals.
as it heals, as it heals. Yes.
So, but your head's leaking blood.
Oh, yeah, yeah, certainly. I mean, I cleaned it up for this event. So the main deal is that it's just it's just a bit less pep. I'm still trying to maintain near normal functionality.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully you get back to 100% shortly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope to get back to more, but it was a disturbing event. It was not a really serious surgery, but because it was in the face and related to breathing, it had the same setup as something that would be more serious. So, it was IV. It was a tube down the throat to help me breathe, or not to breathe. I understand it was probably breathing for me, which is
You were
horrible.
under, right?
Totally. I would have had to then. This was in the face.
I mean, people sometimes are awake for tooth extractions and other dental procedures.
Yeah. I think because it had to do with airways, and they would have had to keep me breathing artificially and regulating my blood, and that, like, let's say I had my wisdom teeth out, and I was under for that, but I didn't have a breathing tube, but I don't believe.
Oh yeah.
But if it had been uh, I don't know, like a cyst removal on your body, they probably just do that while you're awake.
Hmm. For do you have to pay extra to be under for like wisdom teeth removal?
I I I I don't know. Uh, I don't know. That's out of sight, out of mind. I'm sure there will be a lot of attention paid to paying this time around, because I visited an expensive store, but insurance seems to be. I don't know offhand payment for
Mm.
wisdom teeth. No. Have you
Because
had your
I heard of a lot of people being like awake for wisdom teeth extraction.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I think I was asleep. You know what I was awake for? This is awful. I'm going to say some terrible things since namesake, and we're on an awful subject. But I remember that my gums got infected while I was or following my wisdom teeth out. It it felt like inside of my mouth, and maybe my head was foggy during healing, but it felt like my cheek and gums were connected more than they ought to be, and I actually detached somewhat of my gums as they were healing. Just pushed them out with my tongue, which was a confusing thing to do. And I was awake as they stitched my gums back together.
Ooh.
Yeah, and they what they tried to well, not they tried, they numbed it with needles, but they were in there working before the numbing took effect. So I felt a portion of that oral surgery. So that's a prized memory of mine.
Yeah. Yeah, oral surgery gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh crap!
Yeah.
This stuff all gives me the heebie-jeebies. I'm an inherently untrusting person,
Yeah.
and while the staff they did a fine job, there was one of the nurses that was in there. She was putting in the IV, and I was so nervous. I was very uncomfortable there in my hat and socks and little tie in the back uh, gown, and she was sticking a needle in one hand, and she couldn't get the vein, and it was a truly unpleasant experience. She was very nice, and the person she called in after her was able to do it very quickly, but I was just wound up with stress. It was not fun, you know.
Yeah. And I imagine it's oof. I don't really have the vocabulary to deal with that.
No, no, I have a lot of sympathy for people with real health problems. That's
Like hockey players.
yeah, I
Those
have a lot
yeah,
of sympathy for hockey players.
those guys, man, go to the dentist every day. They have their own dentists travel with them.
And those guys are brave, you know.
Yeah, it was like half the trainings, like oral surgery.
Uh, yeah,
Half the
half
sport.
the half of being a hockey player is oral surgery, and the other half is oral sex.
Oh, well, they get the ladies. It's ladies
Uh,
love a hockey player.
oh, who doesn't? They're titans among much smaller people.
Yeah.
Uh,
So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, it's like all that dental work. That's like the one reason I never played in the NHL. Never, I never chose to become a professional hockey player.
Oh well,
Yeah, that's the only reason is the dentistry.
I don't blame you. That's
Yeah.
that's enough. Uh, the world isn't good enough for your hockey shines.
Yeah.
Uh,
So, well, yeah, like what else has been going on? I
uh
have some news as well, but
oh yeah, please, please.
you know, uh, so a fan came up to me, told me that we have nicknames.
Oh well, I'm sure the fan meant well with
Yes.
that.
Yeah, apparently you're known as the machine and I
Uh,
am the animal.
oh well, uh, I'm pretty okay with that.
Oh yeah.
It's not have you? This is on topic, but are you familiar with? No, no, that's a spoiler. I was going to do a Mass Effect reference. Mass Effect reference. It's a game series. But if we could get to a point as a species where the human body could be made into a synthetic thing that sort of appears much and functions much as it does, but is just void of the the wet mush that it is. I would be quite quick to adopt that, and I imagine that you probably would not. So those are,
Yeah,
at least in that respect, fitting names.
yep. They also call you the machine because everyone says that you're autistic.
Well, no shame in that. I couldn't say I don't think so. Tell me this. I don't mean this in any denigrating way. Just sort of for understanding. Does the autistic spectrum, as far as you know, have anything to do with like a person's innate uh, empathy, like ability to read and understand the emotions of others?
Like it's like all that stuff about autism is like all over the place. Some people say autism is means that you're so empathetic that that it impairs your ability to function. That you over empathize. That's why you end up in your own world because as an autistic person you take in so much information that's overwhelming. You know, it's a
Okay.
sensory it's a sensory issue, I guess, and
Yeah, I knew that part. I'm aware of it being perceiving too many things at once, which like last time we spoke here, I expressed sort of irritation with I don't know, going to events because my attention is fractured with other things there. Um, but that's in part sort of an acquisition. And I'd also heard, but you say it's all over the place, um, that
yeah, like
like empathy.
I mean, at least on the internet, I haven't read the DSM, so
Yeah, I don't know. I am ill informed about
they
uh,
probably don't experience empathy the same way, typical people do.
yeah, I
So, like, I have a friend who had a friend who was autistic, and one time he tried to drown him in the ocean because since he was autistic, didn't really understand what he was doing.
what oh well I'll I'll watch out for that.
Yeah. You know what? Like, I've heard about autistic people
Uh,
is that once they're autistic enough, they can actually read your mind.
well,
Yeah, I've heard stories about that.
I I have my doubts, but I have no doubt that there are stories or the capacity for stories about uh, that subject. But you
Yeah,
you what?
yeah, go ahead.
No. So you were talking about something that occurred to you recently. What was that?
Something that occurred to me. Oh yeah, the new title of the show.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. The we have nicknames, I suppose,
Yeah,
uh, and the new, brand new, spanking new, glorious title. What have you got?
world's strictest podcasters.
World's strictest podcaster. I'm going to take just a moment and commit that from memory, uh, in a secret way,
Yes.
uh, uh, and make some mouth noises as I commit that to memory. It's a beautiful name. It's sort of like cellar door from what was that, Donnie Darko.
Yep.
It just rolls off the tongue and onto the floor.
Yep. So we're the world's strictest podcasters now.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think.
we are that by definition we are.
Yeah, we can get guests on and just berate them,
Yeah, yeah, okay.
make them like paint our houses and stuff.
How do you force someone to paint your house?
Well, I, I guess you'd have to use illegal methods.
Oh, like um, you you could put you could pretend to be them and say, I wish to paint this house, and they might think, have some sort of identity. They externalize their whole self, and they think that they themselves, or perhaps into a mirror. You could hold up a mirror frame, and you could dress like them, impersonating them, which might have some dubious legal quality, and explain to them, I wish to paint this house, and then they could be under the impression that the reflection is giving them that direction.
Yeah, that would have to be a very they'll there'd have to be a very specific set of circumstances for that to actually have a chance of working.
Well, yeah, I tell you, at least for a moment, with general anesthesia, it it would probably achieve some amount of success.
I get yep. So just
We-
hang out by the hospital. Yes,
no, thank you. No, no,
get a
I'll
drugged
pass.
up labor force.
Well, it's whatever gets you through the day, I guess.
Oh, no, that'll be a great source of labor.
So,
Just like go to a rehab or a drug addict meeting, or like a street corner with a bunch of drug addicts,
yeah,
and offer them to paint to do work for you for drugs.
uh, I'll I'll put that in the maybe pile.
Yeah, I mean you get like a really good
uh,
deal.
what I think is that that there ought to be a federal jobs program that probably doesn't make such clear cut an exchange. But if someone is so destitute uh, in ways that they are not able to normally participate in society, then they probably ought to be able to have somebody that they can turn to, especially in a commerce-driven society. Um, it's quite a hustle, and if drug addicts or other people that are just not able to mill about in the public, if there's a hard cold floor for them to fall on, and for some reason we consider that to be a societal virtue, there really ought to be a place that they can go that can give them the work that's within their scope.
Yeah, you're talking about something like a workhouse.
No, not really. I was thinking more a federal
Yeah,
jobs program.
sort of like what FDR did with the civilian corps.
Yes, sort of. I think this the safety net is in need of a upping.
An upgrade.
I would I would say.
What
I
was it called? Works the WPA. What did that stand for?
I
Project Administration or something?
I I'd have to look into it. I don't have access to that
Hmm,
off the top of my head.
I see.
Uh, well, let's see. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but I have recently become a star streamer with the video games and the Twitch.
Yes, I remember. I saw that was a mod of Super Mario World, right?
Yeah, it was. I even did a very sweet and short performance of a kind and educational piece of music. It was wonderful. I've gotten a lot of good feedback about that song.
It was on like were you playing it on like a Mario music program?
No,
Mario
I,
Paints. Yeah, Mario Paints.
no,
You
no,
have that music program. Did you do it on that?
no, I just sang along to some ukulele chords.
Let's see.
Yeah.
What was the song?
Uh, let's see. I forget the words. I could probably think of them. I think it was just "Don't hurt people on the road." It was somewhat tongue in cheek. Like before I did the stream, same day, I'm on the road, um, and I had two incidences of a degree of reckless driving. One that had the potential to go poorly, and then the other that did go poorly, and that kind of stuck in my mind a little bit. So I decided to go reading Rainbow on Twitch and teach a valuable life lesson. Um, yeah, let's see. There was one chap that was behind me on the road, and I'm just sort of on a driving lane. I'm not in sort of a passing or get off area. This is a city street. This isn't the freeway. And he's you look in your rear view mirror, and instead of eyes, you see a hand holding up a phone. Uh, and every time I would come to a stoplight, the car would just sort of zoom and swerve and just barely make the stop. And this guy was with me for a few miles, uh, and he just he just kept wanting to leave, whether or not he was going to rear end me to the last minute until he turned off into one of the parking lots along the way. Um, and he looked like he was in his 50s too, so he was somebody who you would expect to have a little bit more decorum in that area. Um, not,
He's probably playing Candy Crush.
well, whatever he was doing. But that one turned out fine. In fact, one of my points of that little diatribe of the day was that you know not following the rules of the road and trying to keep away from other traffic. So you have reaction time. Um, you're probably going to be fine, but somebody doing what you're doing is going to kill or maim somebody. It happens several times a day. In fact, later on in the day, the other incident was it happened just as I was driving by, and I took in some of it, peripheral in the window. But this is like traffic going the other direction, again, city street. And this was a three vehicle collision. It was just as I was passing it, and it was big chunk of metal flying through the air, and then another thing that fell through the air and landed was a person curled up, and I said the human body that hopefully uh, contained life and a future of recovery, because the person was in motorcycle garb. One of the three crashed vehicles was a
You
motorcycle,
saw a person fly through the air.
and land on the street, clutching their head, as I drove, the other way in traffic on a street road. It was a three vehicle collision, and one of
This
them,
happened. This happened just as you were driving.
yeah, yeah,
You saw the whole thing.
yeah, I saw it through peripheral and a mirror, because it occurred it was an explosive crash that occurred as I was passing it. So I'm on a road going west, I think, and it's got three or four lanes. This is a big city area, and then to my left, and I'm not in the left lane of the city road, but to my left you've got the east going three or four lanes, and three vehicles collided. One of them was a motorcycle. It was a huge collision with pieces of metal flying through. It happened just as I passed it, and I did see a person, uh, you know, in motorcycle garb, curled up on the ground, clutching their head.
Well, did they have a helmet on?
Yeah, that's the figure I saw.
Yeah.
Figure, helmet, clutching head, and I was thinking, things will occur that are out of your control. A vehicle can break or an animal can jump through, but generally, if you are given due respect instead of like I need to do for me right now, uh, if you recognize that you are sort of part of something where if everybody follows the same rules, everybody will generally live to see home that night. But it's totally needless harm, um, and it probably won't happen. What I saw was sort of extremes of either side. Like at the beginning, this guy uh, had to do some wacky fun maneuvers every time there was a stop light to not rear end me. Uh, and the other one, there was a three-car pileup, well, not pileup,
Mm.
combination, violent combination, crash. Uh, and one person at least was on the ground, hopefully, hopefully fine. I hope they were fine. But if you're going to behave in a selfish way behind the vehicle or behind the wheel, you will probably be fine. But somebody doing what you're doing, somebody involved in this culture of me now, is going to hurt somebody. They are going to destroy somebody's life, and there's no reason for it, no justification. Like as shitty as the world, uh, yeah, no, I can say shitty. Why not? As unpleasant uh, as the world can be, with genuine, legitimate issues that people will just fight and die for and go nuts for. That there's no reason for that to happen. There's no reason for a motorcyclist to be curled up on the ground and for metal to fly through the air. That doesn't ever have to happen.
Well, yeah, that's life though, right?
No,
Sometimes things happen.
it's a life, but that's sort of my explanation for the little tune that I played. I came up with a three chords, one repeated, so a four-chord tune on the ukulele, and I played it with I played it over the top of my skillful Mario exploits.
Yeah. Well, well, uh, well, back in the old days, like the bikers, they used to put dentist mirrors on their motorcycles just to like fit in with the letter of the law.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they used to have because rear view mirrors were mandatory, so they used to put dentist mirrors on there.
And there was like their way to rebel against it.
Yeah, I guess it's so they if they get pulled over, they don't get a ticket for it.
Oh
Because
yeah.
technically they have rear view mirrors.
Well, that's good for people need to make a statement, I guess. Why not?
I mean, like, what kind of state? What do you think the statement is, though?
Well, the
Like I want
statement
it
is
as
like
dangerous as possible.
yeah, it's like I don't have to do anything. It's I don't think it's when it's articulated, it's put in a way mentally like I am going to step outside of uh communal rules that keep everybody alive and hurt somebody or be open to hurting somebody. I don't think it's like that. I think it's more like you can't tell me what to do. That same thing occurred with seat belts, as I understand it, when it became put into law. Uh, People just got real huffy.
Yeah, it was an insult if you got in someone's car and you put on the seatbelt.
Yeah, yeah, and and that's something that mostly impacts you. And I'm generally not a rank and file guy that encourages people to all be the same. I just think that if you have an appreciation, other people exist. This is a rule that doesn't hurt you. It just sort of ensures that we're all going to get where we're going without dying or getting horribly hurt, or God forbid, most important concern, have to pay for damages, because the reason why we are alive is for the pretend tool of money. Uh, I, it's just unreasonable. Of all the things that we can sass about, I don't know why that should be one of them. It's I I'm like I think that there are many occurrences where the traffic laws in an area are inappropriate, like perhaps the speed limit should be different, or this and that and the other. But as they are in place, if everybody follows them, and there's an understanding that they are to be followed, then everybody is alive and safe. Nobody has to deal with unnecessary, horrible, life-changing events. And if you want to change them, there should be a process to go through that. Some part of the democratic process. But as it is there, it just makes sense to me not to do that.
Cars, they tend to promote antisocial thinking,
Yeah, sure.
because it's like you're in your own pod. It's a metal tank basically, with your own little climate controlled environment and your music of choice. It makes it very easy to forget that there's other people around who matter.
Yeah, yeah. Human nature is often a difficult thing to overcome. Uh, I I don't mean to insult anybody for making a mistake, uh, but I just think it's I don't know, an unfortunate societal aspect, that there's not that uh, appreciation for the community to the extent that there could be.
Yeah. Well, what we should do is get more trains. That's for sure.
Uh, you're absolutely right. We should get more trains. If we had major rail systems, especially since we're such a big country, there should be uh, quicker and more publicly available ways to go from one place to another. Those what let's see. I know Europe has a really good rail system, and I think Japan has sort of a high speed one to get
Yeah.
from one side of the country really
China's
quickly.
got one now too.
Yeah. You're right. So that is something that we should do, considering how huge we are.
Well, I guess there's no money in it, or I guess whoever the lobbyists are, I guess a train system would not benefit them.
That's
Like,
unfortunate.
so I think was a big oil's in charge right now, so
Uh,
I think they want to keep it the way it is, because isn't like as I think how I heard the oil industry really got started, like how gasoline got so big,
uh,
was that they used the petroleum to make roads, right?
right.
And then there'd be leftover gasoline, and that's the stuff you put in your car. And and they had to figure out a way to create a demand for that byproduct.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and That's how they started like really pushing cars, because they really wanted to be able to sell the byproduct,
That's
the
interesting.
gasoline.
I don't think I knew that. Yeah, but there are a few things that I would take the profit incentive off of.
Oh yeah.
Are you are you impersonating a guitar?
No, my phone was ringing.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a few things for the good of the society that ought to, like the post office. It's been operating on a financial incentive which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it's an important societal entitlement. We should just have access to being able to send letters and materials to each other. Um,
Yeah.
I would think some degree of transportation should be part of that, but I don't know. That's not a clear interest of this current stage of the experiment. So I
Are you
can.
talking about the the podcast as an experiment
Oh no,
or society?
our national great experiment. Where
Yeah.
we're not interested so much in having societal entitlements, but rather everything existing on a profit incentive. And while
Oh.
some things certainly should,
There's a book that I recommend that you read that's kind of about that. It's about
is it-
neoliberalism.
okay, what's it?
Read The Shock Doctrine.
The shock doc. I believe you were telling me about that at some point.
Actually, you actually have a copy.
Oh no, I do. I do. I know right where it is. It's a thick gray book, big letters, authored by Naomi Klein. Yeah, I do have a copy of that book.
Yeah, she talks about like how I think it was in Argentina, uh, like they got rid of this Salvador Allende, and they got Pinochet. And he did cutbacks throughout everything in society, basically.
Uh,
You know, from what I heard, there's like there's so much malnutrition, like people are still retarded to this day from the from those man-made famines.
oh, geez.
Yeah.
Is that guy one of the world building relics to stop a country from socializing? I know that's happened a few
Yeah.
times. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, I actually remember that Pikachu video you sent me where they
Yeah.
were talking about Salvador Allende.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
it was that guy that they had a coup to put him in there instead of Allende.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, so
the little CIA story to
yeah,
replace with a yeah.
so
Yeah.
well, I think it's we're gonna go further in that direction than we have
The
in this country. So,
which direction?
but I don't, this is not really a political podcast,
Oh, yeah,
so
I don't want to get into that too much, but my
yeah,
my my basic political position, not to get into issues and make people angry. And if anybody has an opinion, I'm not interested in shutting that down. I don't want to hurt anybody, but my basic position is that I think we should be trying to alleviate suffering, and some places are interested in doing that, but we're more interested in a profit-based model as a rule one, not as a rule two. Um, but you're right. This is not a political thing, and we go off in any direction, somebody's just going to get awfully mad.
yeah. I mean, my political opinion is pretty uncontroversial. I say just laws are too complicated, right? There's too many laws. I think we should just have our laws be the Ten Commandments. I think
Yeah.
everyone can agree on that. I mean,
Uh,
they make sense. So
well, I mean, it's simple enough language, thou shalt, and so on and so forth. So I'll give you that. They'd be easy to memorize.
exactly,
Yeah,
and
that's
that way you can't use ignorance of the law as an excuse.
I, I don't know if you're allowed to do that anyway.
Yeah. Well, I do that. I do that all the time.
Using ignorance of the law,
Yeah.
as does it
It's
pay
like
off?
officer, I didn't see the speed limit,
Well,
sign.
well, that
Like I don't
brings.
know the speed limit. I wasn't paying attention. I was on my phone. I don't know. I didn't see that stop sign. I was on my phone. I didn't see it. I didn't know
uh,
you had to stop there.
you're a terrible influence, uh, George Animal shooter. Nolan.
You just call me you call me Annie, short for animal.
Yeah, Annie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll call you Sheen.
Ah, yeah. I'm. I am pretty shiny.
Yeah.
Greased
More
up.
like Charlie Sheen.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I am like Charlie Sheen, and probably some ways. I don't think there's a person alive who is not like Charlie Sheen in at least some ways.
Yeah.
So I'll take that.
Well,
Sorry.
you go ahead.
Oh, no, I was gonna throw us off into an entirely different island. So why don't you why
Oh
don't
yeah.
you
What's the island?
well, the island, are you uh at all invested in the stock market?
No, not at all.
I am. I actually put most of what most of what I make into the to my stock portfolio. Uh and it has been quite a ride. It's sort of like a roller coaster, except those gut wrenching dips that are straight down you take. It hasn't been going back up, so it's like being on a roller coaster, and after a couple loop de loops, you go down, and then forward a little bit, and then you go down, and and I'm zipping around in the dark now. It's like Space Mountain. I can't see ahead of me.
What is Space Mountain?
Space Mountain is a ride at the Disney parks.
I thought it was just something you climbed.
Yeah, well, I mean I I don't think we have any mountains in space. I mean, no, but I take that back. I would like to make a declarative statement here, adjusting what I just said, and put forth a full and unbending, terrible position that there are mountains in space.
Oh yeah, there's like planets that are just all mountains.
Yeah, yeah. So we're in agreement there.
Oh, Space Mountain is a indoor roller coaster.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I've been on it. It's sort of like a roller coaster inside in the dark, and there's lights, and it's supposed to be like you're going through space. A little bit like you remember that scene in Contact where she's in the big gyroscope and going from different points in space. She's slipping through the wormholes.
Sure.
It's like that, like, or Farscape. Farscape. It's like going. It's a wormhole. You just it's space travel. Star Trek.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that's
Would
Space Mountain.
would you ra- would you rather be a Sebastian or a human being?
So we were talking about this before, and the Sebastians haven't been like, it is one of my favorite shows, perhaps my favorite, but one of the weak points of writing where they just stick it in a couple times when it makes sense for the story that they were wanting to tell in the episode, is that these guys who travel around wearing full body spacesuits can enter an environment that is a little bit too hot for them, where a human being would come to a slight sweat and it can kill them. It makes them delirious, and then they die painfully if they don't deal with it within an hour or so. But there are pros and cons to each. Like the human being society seems like it's more diverse. There's more ways to be a human, whereas the Sebacean society seems to be like pretty well monoculture. They're just sort of
I heartily disagree with you with
okay.
that
Let's have
on
it.
that point, because was it Sebastian's? This is for the people listening who don't know Farscape. Sebastians are the like one of the main aliens in the show, right? And they
Yeah,
look just like human beings, but they're aliens from a different dimension. They look just like human beings though, and they're supposed to be smarter and stronger, right?
yeah, and they're not from a different dimension, they're from a different part of space.
No, well, the whole thing is like John Crichton went down the wormhole, and that's where, and then he went to a different dimension where the
It's a different part
Sebaceans
of
are.
space. They're in the same dimension. He's just really
Oh,
far
really?
away. Yeah,
Oh, I see. It's not he went to a different dimension. He warped to a different part of space.
yeah, yeah. It's just
So
like Star Trek
it's
Voyager.
this the distance.
Yeah, yeah. Some freak while he's out there, freak occurrence just sends him far away.
But it's yeah, I always thought it was like a different universe, but
Yeah,
yeah, as I
different.
was saying, but Sebaceans in Farscape, they have like planets full, like planets of like different planets of Sebaceans. Like
Yeah, you're right.
one
You're right.
episode, he goes to like a planet of Sebaceans where they're primitive. They worship Rigel, and
Right.
they're and then there's other planets where people have clear bellies and they jump off a cliff. They're
Yeah.
all addicted to
I
drugs.
don't think they were Sebaceans in that. They
Oh yeah,
were, yeah, I think they were a different race altogether. There were the Sebaceans. They worshipped Rigel. There were Sebation. I think they were Sebaceans, the albino people on that party planet that were harvesting gourds for the ammunition. Those are Sebaceans.
yeah.
Yeah, you're correct. It's they're spread out all over the place, but it does seem like that there's a seat of power, which is the peacekeepers, and there are
Yeah,
places
I
that
think
aren't.
that's what you meant.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I meant. I was wrong to say that there's just like a monoculture, but it does seem like that there's a head to the culture. But if you're further out, you might as well have your own society, or you could be totally cut off from it, like the like the guys that worshipped Rigel, were they seem to be Sebaceans that were under the control of the Hynerian Empire, who were totally cut off for a long time.
I mean, anyways, like I think like human beings though are a much better off people than the
I
Sebaceans.
Yeah,
You know,
I think it's hard to say. So if you're Farscape, you're us in what, the early 2000s, um and the I mean, being a human being lately, at least, has been kind of a pain in the ass, and the Sebaceans are more spread out. I'm kind of changing my tune a little bit. It seems like it kind of depends on where you're a human and where you're a Sebacean.
well, I'm talking about like physically, because out like of the Sebaceans, they're about as strong. Like, they don't seem that much stronger or smarter than people than
No,
humans.
but they're I so they've kind of sometimes demonstrated, like Crichton is probably the most dynamic intelligence on the ship, but
Yeah,
he's not going to figure out something clear cut as quickly. He's got worse vision, hearing. His senses are going to be
yeah.
worse. Like, it seems like the real benefit that the human has over the Sebacean is the heat thing. But if Crichton were a Sebacean, he'd
Yeah,
probably be a better scientist because he himself is a smart, dynamic scientist, but
yeah.
he's not going to be as quick, you know?
Oh yeah,
Yeah, he's just a scientist. Your average Sebacean and your average
yeah,
human, the Sebacean would be probably more dominating in every aspect apart from the weird heat issue.
yeah. But the thing is, like, about the intelligence as a society, it's okay if most people are average intelligence, because there's the exceptional people with the high intelligence. They're the ones, they're going to be doing all the think work anyway, right? You
Yeah.
don't really need everyone to be. You don't really need everyone to be a scientist. Exceptional people are going to, do science anyway, right? So with the Sebaceans, not everyone's going to be a scientist. So the top Sebacean scientists and top human scientists, they could be they could be equal.
No, well, I mean, you're right. There's no meaningful difference in intelligence between Sebacean and human that's demonstrated. There's probably a difference in quickness. There might be other things, but John Crichton is clearly more intelligent than any Sebacean, uh, or in at least a dynamic way than any Sebacean
Yeah,
indicated on the show, except for I don't know Scorpius, who's half Sebacean.
yeah.
He seems
But I think his genius comes from his scare inside.
it could be. It
Yeah,
could be. I don't know. So you'd prefer to be human.
absolutely, because of the heat vulnerability.
I like the cold more than the heat. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
say Sebacean.
Oh my god, that is so foolish.
Why?
I mean, like, what if your air conditioning goes out? It
I,
gets pretty hot in the summers where you're at.
I'd climb in the. All right, never mind. I suppose like we very well see some pretty good heat waves
Yeah.
upcoming, and I guess if I were a Sebacean and the power went out, I could need to be hospitalized. So so perhaps I did not think out my. All right, because
Like,
I
it's so easy to be, like, vulnerable, with that.
yeah, well, but because I am not in a consistently cold area, because I am not wealthy, and because I don't have space age uh items, I all right, it's better to be a human in my particular context.
Yeah. I'm just, and if Sebastians are so smart,
Yeah.
why didn't they invent like a walk-in cooler? Like, remember that episode where Aaron has she Aaron gets heat madness because that swarm infects the ship and they turn up the heat.
Yeah, and the peacekeepers invade Moya.
Yeah, and they get defeated by the heat as well.
Yeah.
You know, like, why didn't they come up with like refrigeration technology?
Well,
Why isn't there like a room in every ship, like, that you can go into, like, that's like cold for emergencies? It's like an insulated, cooler or something that they can go into.
well, she's a commander. She's a high level soldier, as are the soldiers that
Yeah,
invade the ship. And so she should have been like she initially joins the ship with her own craft, and she should absolutely have access to things to be like a top trained space person that is used to traveling different places. I suppose it's been explored that she's mostly for space. So because like one thing that I thought was kind of funny, she expresses surprise one episode at the existence of rain, which is very strange. So she must have been like total space pilot and combat on spaceships,
yeah.
but she should still have some meaningful survival gear, and so should the
Yeah.
uh
I mean, you should
like,
plan for like a contingency.
well, I mean, I
Contingency.
would think so. The boarding peacekeepers, they were commandos. They were in
Yeah.
their spacesuits, which they took off because of the heat. But it seemed to be like if you're driving around in your space vehicle, you're helmeted. You know, if you're losing compression and atmosphere in your ship, you're not going to die. So they are prepared to a degree for the like it 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 doesn't make sense that they have no access to anything that would keep them alive if they like how can they expect these people to be groups that board other ships
Yeah,
when
not every ship they board is like sedation controlled. So like, well, it's
yeah
over room. Some species might keep their ships over room temperature.
yeah
You know, what are they gonna do?
some people like it warm. There's species in that show that breathe fire, intelligent peoples that breathe fire. Like how effective is your commando when you're not prepared to go to some place that's 15 degrees hotter than you can stand?
Yeah, and like, there's so many like there's so many planets out there. There's so much like variation. Like like a good portion of valuable planets are going to be warm. You know,
Yeah, and even if it's just
and
space,
I think do they if like let's say like they see a planet, let's say they see Earth and they want to conquer it, but then it's like, oh, it's 85 degrees today,
yeah,
so we're not gonna land the ship. You know, we're not gonna invade
yeah,
because it's just
I don't
like
know.
how they deal with that. Like so
But it's inconsistent, like those Hynerian Sebaceans that you brought up that worship Rigel. Uh, that planet looked tropical to me.
yep.
It just seems to be for narrative purposes. Like the first episode, they're on a planet trying to find uh, something for the ship, and they don't have the translation microbes, like the natives don't have it, and but they're still
Yeah.
able to communicate fluently. Or the Scarans,
Oh
which are
really?
yeah, they communicate fluently, and
You
then the
know you
Scarans,
know what what could have happened?
uh,
Maybe their ancestors had the communicator microbes, and it's a microbe, so that's like a suggests it's an organic entity. So maybe once you get like a microbe, it like reproduces in your children.
yeah.
Maybe you pass it on like when they're in the womb.
I think you would, like you just get a shot of it and it stays with you. So I imagine it would be one
Yeah.
of those things that it's secret. And I'll totally go with that. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt if it was like just introduced to the population, but that was never explored at any point. It was never any surprise that we're on an alien planet. We totally speak the language, and this planet is like it's you know pre 2000s Earth. Um, uh, it just seemed to be ignored for narrative purposes, and I'll totally accept if they decide to write in something to justify it in third party material, or if one prefers to think it. Um, my mind goes to the Scarans, which are tanks, but they operate like stormtroopers, easy to wipe out in the mini series, the Peacekeeper Wars. It's a good series, but when you find like I don't know, it's just sort of employed for narrative purposes instead of paying attention to the arc of the series. Star Trek did that too.
Yeah, but it's a testament to actually how good of a show it was that
Yeah.
it was still enjoyable even with those plot holes.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a pedant about it, they're they're just good shows. Farscape really carries you along. I think it's an absolute shame that it didn't get a fifth season.
Yeah, but I guess we got the Peacekeeper Wars, so that's something.
Oh
I
yeah,
thought I thought that part where that guy who was a pilot, I think it was at the very end of season 4. You see
Oh,
a pilot coming
this is
in.
pretty big spoiler
Oh,
alert here. But
and
no,
okay,
go on.
yeah, and then his his head splits open.
Yeah,
You know, it reveals that he's like some sort of horror monstrous alien.
yeah. I think that it was going to go a different way. Uh, but we said spoiler alert, so that's the most we can do. But I think they were going to go a different way with that. But in like what I've heard is that they were going to explore more with you remember when Aaron is going to that planet and meets the weird psychic bug baby guy, and he's like a
Oh,
medium, and she
is
thinks
he?
he's
He's
meeting her
like a guy
father.
with like just who's basically like a head.
Yeah,
He's like a head of an old man.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
yes.
They were going to bring that character back, and they were going to continue the dead Crichton's arc. He was not done. So they were going to continue that like there were moments where the fourth season got a little bit more dark and heavy, and they were going to continue with some of those developments. It would have been a very good series, I imagine, or season.
Yeah, but they have they continue the in the comics. I think we
I
were talking about that last time.
Yeah, I envy your comics. At some point I'm gonna
N-
get around to getting all those, because
it-
I would go for that.
I got the omnibus like
Yeah,
volume 1, right?
yeah.
And here's like this is one of the worst things that ever happened in my life. They made of an omnibus volume 2. It's like a compendium of everything, right?
Yeah.
So, but they canceled the volume 2.
Oh,
Yeah, so a whole bunch of people, they got the first half of this, comic, and they were gonna get the second half in volume 2, but now we're stuck with like one half of it.
do, do you know if it's like created but just not distributed?
Um, I don't know if it's been compiled or
Yeah,
printed or anything like that. I'm not
that's
sure what stage they got to with the volume 2. It seemed like they already had it like printed and stuff.
yeah,
But I can't say for certain. But
that's
it
a
was
real
like,
shame.
yeah, it was like this is like the worst thing that ever happened in my life. You
Well,
know?
I know when asked, Brian Henson, at least, like he really uh what O'Bannon, I believe, the Rockney O'Bannon, the creators of the show, whenever asked, they are trying to bring it back, and they're pitching it. So maybe at least the omnibus has a future. I know for a while they were going to do a YouTube series that featured um, Aaron and Crichton's child.
Dargo.
Yeah, they were gonna do sort of a mini series with short episodes for YouTube to try and uh, drum up excitement with the community and then justify further projects. And they weren't able to get the funding to do that, but they did. Um, for a while, their official YouTube channel was releasing uh, kind of snippets of episodes. So they're keen to get the public interested for more Farscape, and I'm here for it. When there was a lot of effort to make a movie for it, and I think this is like 7 or 8 years ago, and they were so confident, or interested rather, that they were displaying confidences at one of the Comic-Con or sort of events. They were saying that there will be a movie, and it ended up not happening. At least the then didn't. But I was very interested. I would be very interested for a quality continuation, which in my mind would be like a continuation, not a reboot, but a continuation using as many of the same characters. Certainly, Claudia Black, Ben Browder. Uh, if they're in it and you have the same creative team, I would be very interested in that.
Yeah, I think was the guy who played Rigel.
Yeah,
he's dead. So they'd
that's
have to write out Rigel.
yeah. I feel bad about that. I really like the character Rigel, and then Dargo, not the actor, but the character. He's dead as well. Um, I like
But then they can just have his son replace him.
I know, but I like the character. Um,
Yeah, but yeah, I think about Dargo's son. He was like the David Faustino of the show of like Luxons, man. He was like 5'5",
oh
kind of like a shrimpy guy. I don't know. He
he
kind of
was.
yeah, but I guess that was his like Sebastian side.
That was yeah, that was his Sebastian side. I think that I mean certainly the actor was well done, or the character was well done, but like he was introduced in a way that was supposed to annoy you. Like even when Chiana was like you expected her to betray Dargo. That seemed like a natural behavior, but I was invested in Chiana when Dargo's son was in the show. I just didn't like him. I liked
Yeah,
that he was in the show. I liked the stories. The episodes were great, and the actor did well. The character was well portrayed, but I didn't like him. And so, in my mind, at least from the start, he wouldn't be a replacement for Dargo.
well, that's like that'd be like well he becomes like this. He becomes like all well adjusted in the Peacekeepers. He's like a completely different character
Yeah,
in the Peacekeeper
they
Wars.
could do it. But
Like he's like he has his like tentacles, they've fully grown back, and he
yeah,
has like a huge beard, and he looks like full Luxon, and he's
yeah,
like a commander now.
yeah, they
He's a really David Faustino looking Luxon, but he's all happy and well adjusted,
yeah,
and
they
he
could
loves
do
his
it.
father.
If yeah, if there's reason for it. Like the Peacekeeper Wars kind of wrapped it up. They can reach Earth now. A lot of the resolutions have happened. I wanted the fifth season, and at the very least, I would like to get comprehensive and even maybe continuing comics. I think it's an excellent franchise, but like if there's a reason for it, like the point of the show uh, was resolving Crichton's thing. There was I believe you'll find in the omnibus an explanation of Chiana's issue, her planet's rebellion. Um, I believe that is in the comics. Um, what else is there to be resolved? So if they're able to bring it back and have a reason for it to be back, I'm for it.
You know what? If I don't think they should do like a Farscape continuation per
No,
se. They could if they wanted to, I would say do like in the Farscape universe, but it's a completely separate story. You know,
yeah, as long as it's not like a continuation could be a real failure, kind of like some of the thing that like Star Trek is producing content that is not true to Star Trek, and it's just sort of capturing the name Star Trek. Disney's done that to Star Wars. You know what? Who's done it well? I don't believe you're into Adventure Time, but Adventure Time ended right. I was satisfied with the ending, and then they produced a series of four episodes that just sort of continues the universe. And it's not like, well, here's more of the story we wanted to tell, but rather here's more relevant stuff that doesn't try to reboot and ruin it like like Picard or the X-Files reboot, where it just sort of derails everything that we got used to, and here's a new direction for you to get excited about, but instead it's very appropriate in-universe stuff, um, called Distant Lands. Adventure Time, if you ever get into it, then you'll agree that Distant Lands, just, just like we'll make three or rather four more episodes that are larger, that just tell more stories. It was very well done.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Like that's what they could do, something like that. Like,
Yeah.
you know what they could do is like they could do a series set like hundreds of years in the past about when the peacekeepers are started. And they could talk about that, you know.
Yeah. I think it would have been really good if they had been able to, same creators. They've got Crichton, they've got Aaron, and then they've got the kid being raised on Moya. If they had been able to get the YouTube series that they wanted, and it was just sort of like episodic or slice of life or introducing a new arc, I would have been fine with that, because it doesn't have to. It wouldn't even have to have high stakes. It would have just like, here's more adventure with the characters we like. It wouldn't have had to, uh, just in a world where everything's changed and Picard is totally different now.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to just like take something good and say, well, how can we start this over but use characters that people already like, investments that they've already taken, and just continue to make money with it. It doesn't have to be that. They could just do, well, here's what's going on. We're going to, I forget the name of the woman who played Chiana. I know her name. I am.
Gigi Edgley.
Thank you, Gigi Edgley. She was young in Farscape, and I don't know anything about how she's doing now, but she's probably young enough where like there was a whole thing. Chiana is heavy makeup anyway. They could
Yeah.
probably go and do episodes from the Nabari rebellion stuff, because that was like her arc, and her arc was never sufficiently explored. And so they could do like, here's just her
Yeah.
stuff that happened in the past, so we can see where she came from, and then we could go and see what she's doing.
Yeah, I mean, they should do that animated.
I would absolutely. You get the same people that did Animatrix, or that the Dark Knight Batman thing. Yeah, there are a few. You do some kind of some really well done anime style thing. I think that would go across real well. I would be a big fan of them doing Chiana's arc animated. That would be awesome.
Yeah, like like you could do it, like as you say, like with the Batman animated series.
Yeah, man.
Like how they, because they come out with like movies that are animated all the time for Batman or the DC comics.
They did.
They
They did specifically a thing that was called the Dark Knight something or other. I've got it, and I think the same people that did the Animatrix are the people that did that. But it's a lot of fun, and then they still, as you say, like they're still doing Batman and Superman movies, which I sometimes catch up with. They did an animated. Like I don't read the comics at all. It'd be a lot for me to get into at this point. But they did one of a particularly interesting comics arc called The Laughing Game, the Laughing Joke, The Laughing Game.
Killing Joke.
Killing Joke. Thank you. The Killing Joke. Yeah. And I've got that on DVD. I never read the comic. Having grown up with the Batman the Animated Series cartoon, which I think holds up really well. These new appreciations, especially when they have the same voice actors. I'm drawing a blank. I think I can't think of either the voice of Batman who I know. I believe his last name starts with a K, and I'm also drawing
Yeah,
a blank on
same
the
guy did
Joker.
was it Gargoyles?
Yeah, yeah, he did the uh the main
Michael
gargoyle.
Richardson.
No, no, that's Seinfeld. Um, my no, maybe he's a Michael. That sounds right. I think he's an MK, and I'm drawing a blank too with Luke Skywalker, the guy that does the Joker, Mark Hamill.
Mark
Um,
Hamill. Yep, I know that.
those two voices are iconic, and whenever they make a like in universe, that uh, same thing, or just like adapting another of the comics, um, I'm there for it. I always enjoy it when I pick it up, even if it's not one of the great ones. It's always nice to revisit that, especially when it's done well. Um, they if they did that for Farscape, I wonder if the guys have been into that, because Farscape is a is they've done tremendous world building, and there are all sorts of story arcs, even alternate timelines, or some of Crichton's ventures through the wormhole, where he saw uh, like different realities with similar characters. There's a lot that could be mined in the Farscape universe that could be mined with little event series type things. And you're right, animated would be the best way to go, especially since some of the actors, they would be necessary, but they've perhaps aged out of doing like earlier arcs. Um, there's a lot of stuff they could do.
Oh yeah, it's pretty infinite, like what they can do.
Uh yeah, yeah. I mean, I know that there are some people that would be very interested in it, and I hope it would have some appeal. The people, there's not enough to back it like there would be with like Batman, but I don't know. I would love to see something like that. Well,
Well,
oh, sorry.
yeah. Go ahead.
No, I mean, I was just gonna wind us down, since we're a good deal over where I meant to be, but no, you go ahead. I won't cut it off if you got something.
Oh, the voice of Batman was Kevin Conroy.
Thank you, thank you, Kevin
Yeah.
Conroy and Mark Hamill. When they are in a project, or if there's just like one of them, but there have been some voices for animated Batmans that have imitated Mark Hamill, and I think a couple have imitated Kevin Conroy, and uh, I have not gotten into the reboots in that, um, but I am unaware of like a really bad Batman series recently, and I'm not the best source, but whenever those guys are in it, whether it's the same characters or just sort of an adaptation of a comic, it's always a treat. I really like those.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but unless I'm cutting you off of something here, I think I may uh, wrap it up if I'm able. I meant to have us for 45 minutes, but I'm still in recovery, so I don't care.
Time is lost meaning to you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying
You're
to get
such
it
such a
to.
daze.
Well, I'm not really in a daze. I'm in a fatigue. Like I've hit that wall a couple times, and get the sparkly lights, but it's never been that bad. And I'm okay, and I've been you know uh, ranting for a while now, so it's pretty good.
I got I gotta before real quickly. I gotta make a special shout out to
I I was
Toledo,
I,
Ohio.
I was gonna prompt it. You haven't done any shout outs. We're to Toledo,
Toledo, Ohio.
Ohio. What can you tell us about the wonderful Toledo, Ohio.
I'm pretty sure they make steel there, or they did.
Well, if they do good on them, and if they did good on them as well, I hope Toledo, Ohio, is doing well.
I very much I think it's a pretty hard time for states in the Midwest right now. So
I
uh, I,
yeah,
I'm I'm pretty sure Toledo, Ohio, is some terrifying war torn city right
oh,
now.
I I certainly
I wouldn't be
hope not.
surprised. It was like if it was like Detroit.
Oh yeah, I mean I wouldn't be surprised by a lot of bad news. But I hope Toledo, Ohio as well. I had generally, I mean, not implying exceptions. Like I hope that the Midwest is strong and happy, continues to be, and any problems it recovers from. Uh, uh, I will shout out, uh, though it is not my forte. I will shout out the entirety of the Midwest. I hope the Midwest uh, is strong and has a high quality of life.
Yeah, that's that would be good if your wishes can come true.
Yeah, yeah. If my wishes could come true, I'd also wish for a bike, bicycle, and bike roads exclusive because I would be too uncomfortable to ride my bike in the city. So
I see. Oh, it'd be cool if there's like an overhead network of bike paths. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely, if
Yeah,
if there were bike paths, if it were the norm to have bike paths and car paths totally separate, uh, communities should be places that are lived in, not some place that you just go to sleep. Like I think suburbia uh, is a lot of lost potential because those could be hamlets as opposed to places where you just keep your stuff. They could
yeah.
uh, so bike paths galore, bike paths,
Oh,
speed rail from coast to coast, uh, and more community oriented suburbs.
I just invented like a new way of life.
All right.
So they have these bicycles that have instead of wheels, they have these like special wheels that fit the train tracks. What would be cool is having a nation that like they just like lay down like a whole web of like a single train track or of train tracks, right? That'd be pretty simple, like cheap, I think, to do. At least it's feasible.
Yeah.
And they just have a nationwide rail network of those train tracks, and just for bikes with those wheels. So you can like go across the country. Like let's say they can put down like the Appalachian Trail. Let's
Yeah.
say they put down the train track down the Appalachian Trail, right? Like you can go like so much faster on a bike with the railroad wheel on it. I
I,
mean, that'd be pretty cool.
I mean, okay. It would be very cool. It'd be like sunglasses, ball cap on backwards cool.
I
Uh,
mean, you could do that nowadays. Like, there's train tracks. You just ride your bike on it with the special wheel.
which we do not recommend.
You know,
Your life is precious. Please keep it safe.
there's like, there's ways to be safe about it. So
I mean, you could just put metal in the park and ride your bike on that because
but it's so yeah, I think that'd be cool if that happens. But I don't think it will.
yeah, well, I that yeah, that'd be great.
Would you do it?
No.
No, you can go way faster on the track
When
than
I
on
was a
the
kid,
road.
I wanted to, I mean, but I I wanted a motorcycle for a good long while, but I have lost trust. So being on something that exposed, going that fast, I would not do it.
Yeah.
I
Well,
I do enjoy bicycling. If there were dedicated paths, uh, I would cycle my bike. I would bike. I would ride a bike.
yeah. That's do you even know how to ride a bike?
Yeah, yeah. I can ride a unicycle. I think
Oh, okay. It's
I I could use a pogo stick.
yeah, I just didn't want to be what was it? Prejudiced in case you didn't know how to ride a bike.
No, well, I appreciate your consistently thoughtful nature.
Yep.
Oh,
All
well,
right.
you got any further shout outs?
Uh let's see. There is Mexico City, Mexico.
Hey, hope there's I bet there are some really good places to eat in Mexico City, Mexico.
Yeah, that's like my first international shout out. So
Is it?
it's yep. I don't think I've ever shouted out a city outside of the country. So
Well, this is a first, folks, unless it's not, unless we missed one, but this is a banner day nonetheless.
yeah, well that's why this is a premium episode. So
Well, it is a premium episode. Well, my friend, I'm gonna head out. I think I need to require sustenance and sit down quietly and just breathe a minute. I'm a little lightheaded.
all right, man. Well, pray for Toledo and to all my fans out there, keep doing it G style. It's doing the G style. George and friend coming out, going out.
Going out, you guys.